Looks so bright.
Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to invite everyone to put yourselves on mute while we just open. And welcome to our Wednesday morning Global Coherence community call, where we come together in this beautiful presencing of living for the good of the whole and really bringing ourselves together as a co-mentoring community, supporting this powerful vibrational living connection of love as it expresses itself through us and as a community. So welcome everyone. And for those of you that are on the replay watching, you'll find that at Good of the Whole Mentoring Stewards on Facebook. So if you're ever looking for the replay, that's where it is. It's on the Facebook page, Good of the Whole Mentoring Stewards, and you can find all the replays there. So I'm excited, and at the same time, I want to just share. There might be a little bit of technological glitches. I'm noticing that it's saying that my computer is not catching up with the internet. So just if you see that sign pop up, it's an opportunity for taking a breath, just taking a pause, and then it will shift. And for those of you that are trying to catch up with why we're on the resonance call Zoom, that's because we've shifted over for the next couple of weeks, and sometime the first week in February or the second week in February, we'll come back to the regular coherent Zoom. So thank you for being patient with all of the shifts that are taking place here. So let's just take a moment to feel in to the space here, to feel into this deeper presencing of the codes for a healthy earth and how that influences us as a sacred community, and how that influences us in terms of how we activate and make tangible our expressions, our personal expressions, and our expressions for good of the whole. And it's exciting. At the same time, you might feel there's a little bit of nervousness there, because we can feel that we're being called forth to live out this greater design as a whole living system on Earth. So let's just breathe into that for a moment. And allowing ourselves to let go of any doubts or questions, as our focus point is to align with the intelligence of the field itself as it's guiding us. As we're deepening into this process of articulation and communication with the field itself. And in order to do that, we have to really gentle into a deeper sense of presencing. As we open into this day and really acknowledging this sacred relationship with nature herself. The nature of our being in communion with the evolutionary impulse or expression, and the wonder and innocence of life. Because without that, there's a tension, and we're just noticing and opening to this softer way of being with ourselves and with life. Very gently coming back to center here. Because the next piece, which it may sound like the opposite, but in fact it's not, it's the expression from that place, really moving our passion. So this today really is about developing that passionate presencing, that soul seed that's been placed inside of you, that's coming forth here today as a community, choosing to live for the good of the whole. So welcome, everyone. And we hold in this circle all of our community members. So I want to start out today by opening with a part of that. We're still focusing on the codes for a healthy earth and acknowledging your voice from last week. We're weaving those threads. Remember, Linda was talking about the thread and weaving those threads from last week into this week. And so I'll open with the preamble this morning of the codes for a healthy earth. And then I just want to acknowledge some of the pieces that came forth last week, because I don't know about you, but for me, it was very powerful listening to each one of you and what was moving in you, both locally and globally. And really, as I was realizing it, what we're bringing forth are really a broader toolbox for people that are really wanting to live for good of the whole. So it's a toolbox for sacred action that each one of us are implementing. So I really wanted to acknowledge that. So let's just open this morning with, maybe we'll start with the declaration, and we can feel that in our hearts. And then we'll open our call to each one of you and what's moving. So with the codes for a healthy earth, we're cultivating peace with all of life. And that we, citizens of Earth, and mentoring stewards for good of the whole, we unite in love and concern for our planetary home and all of its inhabitants. We're coming together as one humanity across national, cultural, and ideological boundaries to restore the well-being of all life on Earth. We recognize that our personal, collective, and planetary health are all interconnected and interdependent. Just breathe with that. For humanity to thrive, the entire planetary ecosystem must thrive. We affirm that the only legitimate purpose of governance is to protect and cultivate the health and vitality of the planet and all its inhabitants for generations to come. Therefore, we pledge to self-organize for immediate and resilient global action. We commit to working together with grassroots movements, Indigenous people, non-governmental organizations, faith-based communities, local, national, and international governing bodies, businesses, and financial institutions. And obviously, we're focused on rewilding and restoring our health, pure air, pure water, healthy soil, vitalizing food, shelter, emotional safety for all beings, and a lot more than that. So I think that's plenty to start with. And we've been playing with the guiding principles and whole system health. So just pulling the thread forward, and then we're just going to open it up to really feel into that soul seed that's moving inside of you. And last week, in developing, which I didn't realize at the time, this sort of broader toolbox, we were talking about, and I'm not going to name each person and what they particularly said, but you'll know who you are and you'll know what's moving in you. And also how you're influenced by others and what they're sharing. So we talked about Pachamama Alliance. We talked about creating community or local activities that we would begin with heart resonance, helping people to feel into what that actually is, really embodying that and expressing that. We talked about working with the grandmothers, the Ohana Project, local events being a direct experience. Okay, so now's a good time to breathe. Local events that are focused on the direct experience of the heart. We talked about the Global Heart Team and offering educational pieces into good of the whole, such as the loving journey, such of heart, I'm working on the heart resonance documents. Um, we also brought into the conversation 5 members of spiritual community, how to balance and ground our love, our compassion, our passion, balancing the body, mind, and spirit, and staying present in the moment. And we talked about how we can influence and bring our loving intention to children, and and also dance and music movement inside of what is being shared. So, and one thing that came forward to me was also, how can we help each other? So this week, focusing on how can we help each other engage more locally? What are you needing specifically? Because, as a global presence, I know that's what I've been. I need help how to ground this locally. And I'm asking for that through guidance and through each one of you. So taking a breath with that, I think it's enough to just begin with. And let's just check in and notice what's moving and allow that to weave into this deepening into the codes, deepening into these principles that we're talking about. And the vitality code, which is, really each one of us and all the relations receiving precisely what they need to take their soul purpose forward. So with that, I open up the call and look forward to hearing from each one of you. Keep it to 2 to 3 minutes so that we can keep building this coherent field together. And I'm complete and whole, and I pass the virtual talking stick.
Well, I'm just going to jump in. And for the last 3 years, I've been helping someone with a play. And that play is called Stardom, Our Call to Oneness. Everything that we're about, all of the major themes, just as hair was so significant many, many years ago to set a precedent of what is possible. I feel this play, this musical, with all of its music, that is resonating with our themes. This man who spent 40 years on this play had a producer, and long story short, and some money people, and you know how it goes. And these things are not happening overnight. And I realized that it wasn't just helping him, with the play, but actually coming out and standing for something that I believe in that needs help. And so I'm putting out the website is called Stardom, themusical.com. And if anyone could just look at this website, would love to get feedback. And what are the possibilities of something like this? I mean, it's the script is impeccable now. It's beautiful. It's clear. It's concise. It builds to everything that's happening on the planet today, just as hair did. So that's just where my passion is right now. So I'm complete.
Well, this is Grace in Kentucky, and what's stirring for me right now is I'm applying for the Natural High Healing Festival that occurs July 2nd through 5th in Finland, and doing workshops, global heart rising, personal heart rising, and open heart breath tools. So making the application this week, sending it in. So appreciate any good wishes for that, for the Global Heart team to really go internationally more. And then we'll be with Michelle Pollard for tomorrow, starting tomorrow for 5 days, really writing intensive with her to get the book, Global Heart Rising books, really down. So appreciating energy going to the words come down that appear on the page that need to be in this book. So appreciating love and support energetically for those two to manifest. Thank you.
All right. Oh, good. Go ahead, Nahid.
I am checking with me. I feel disappointed and sad. Tears. It's like, that's how it started when Shelly, you were talking. It's like, yeah, we have learned all the right words to say. And we are just, I know that I have with my capacity. It's like, the question was coming, how do we really empower each other? How do we nurture and empower each other? And then I hear you both, Vazan and Grace, and still checking with me is hearing your stories or acting on your passion. How come the feeling doesn't shift? You know, is how come the feeling within me does not shift? I am so, I'm sitting with that, just being with it. And it's clear that when we talk about vitality code for the earth, to me it's like there is only one way, one road to Rome. They say there are so many ways, there is an expression, so many ways to Rome, but there is only one way to Rome, and that's through the heart of people. So when people live from that place, that is the source of life force itself. Vitality cord is living your passion, live from the heart. Be in touch with your feelings. So we are not correcting anything, we are just, I am really lost. I'm feeling, maybe I'm getting impatient, and I've always been optimistic in my life. And I get this is the moment that I am in, and I accept that. But it's like, is this really going to happen? And that is what, of course, I am perceiving from where I am sitting. It's interesting, even though there are a lot of ideas, thoughts, images on the horizon, that it's all good, but this feeling that I am being with, this is what is true for me at this moment. Thank you.
So I'm going to pick up that thread because I love that. And this morning I woke up, so I'll breathe with where the field is really directing us to what Nahid is bringing forth. This is how it works. So this morning when I woke up, I looked at my phone and I get the word of the day, and the word of the day was nurture, which I thought was really fantastic. And that question of how do we really empower each other? And I feel like part of it is, this is the beauty of a community. This is the beauty of good of the whole, because we're embracing not only our unique wholeness and that expression wanting to come forth, we're also embracing this collective understanding of wholeness. And so one of the things that came to me this morning before this call was, and I love, Nahid, that you brought forth, well, maybe I'm being impatient. Because when I woke up this morning, if I start to feel like, okay, enough, I am like, I've got so many things going on. Really, how do I manifest what I'm being called? But more than that, it was also, am I inclusive of each one of you? Or locally with Nahid, Henry, and John, and whoever. How is that wanting to? How can I be really present for that, so that something can really ground itself? Yes, a book is one thing. Absolutely, I'm sitting here going, okay. Isn't it interesting that my computer got completely erased 2 days ago? Like, you guys came in the day that I was having trouble. Well, when I went, I spent the entire day at Apple, and my entire computer got erased. And yes, I got to save some of the things, but it really made me clear that this was a rebirthing, return, an opportunity to get really what matters here and how to make that manifest. And the other piece, there were two other pieces that came with it, and so you can kind of go where you want, was, number one, am I owning 100% of my experience? Or am I trying to make it about somebody else or something else? That's the first thing that I always have to go to. Am I owning 100% my own experience before I project it onto others and into the group? I'm not, I have to look at that myself. The other part of it was, what do I need to let go of to allow the vision itself to happen? What do I have to let go of? And I think this is a great question for this collective as we're attempting to really bring forth these and engage. Not even, I think sometimes I get caught up in, I got to bring something forth here, instead of looking around me and feeling what is being asked of me. How can I engage with what's already happening? As an example, I was connected to a woman who is part of Gaia, which is the whole Gaia live streaming, Gaia movies, all of that stuff. And I realized, if I go in there and try and push my idea about good of the whole and what I want, that's not going to really work. And so I realized I need to sit back and realize she had an agenda. Her agenda is to create Gaia circles. So my question to myself was, okay, I'm here locally. I've been connected to this person. Am I going to push my agenda? Or am I going to just go to one of those Gaia circles, meet people, connect, bring my loving heart to that, and listen for how good the true essence of good of the whole can interweave itself, can bring about a greater voice about wholeness. Because for me, that's what I realized, is that what makes good of the whole unique is that it is a focal point on wholeness. And so even for myself, how do I, look at my own heart and my own heart's desire in this relationship to being a whole expression? Because that's really the thing that people aren't getting. There's a lot of spiritual groups out there, doing amazing stuff, but there's this there is this sort of a gap in this experience when we feel that presence with this voice of wholeness. It's a really slightly different. It's like turning turning the channel on a radio station. It's like there's a sense that comes in, a sensation that comes in. Someone came in, and I'll finish with this. Last night, someone came in here last night, and a very beautiful person who is involved with a teacher that I used to be with, and there was a lot of beautiful things being expressed. At the same time, I was realizing, that this person was caught up on this one teacher, and that teacher, although it was always about going inside, what you're looking for is your heart. What you're looking for is inside of you. There was no relationship with a greater whole that was being really expressed. And not that that teacher isn't doing beautiful humanitarian things, but the individuals within that collective are very stuck in their own particular pieces. So we have something here, and I think let's allow this to come out and be drawn out and really listen for what each one of us is needing, and even for the possibility of maybe we want to just consider, and I know we're all busy in certain ways, but maybe there's someone who you feel like could support you in your next step in that expression, and going literally to that person. So, so with that, I leave. That's a lot, and there's a lot moving here, and just to embrace it with a lot of love and compassion. So with that, I'm complete.
I guess I'll pick up the thread here. Excuse me, it's cold this morning. Where I live, there's no heat, so I'm working to warm the room up with my stove. To what you were talking about, Shelley, and I loved what you had to say, Naheed. I was a little distracted at the beginning because I had something else going on that I wanted done and came across into the time a little bit. Your idea about going to the groups, this is what Spirit has been doing with me now for some time. With my project, I've done so much work, and I continue to do work on it. I don't know if there's anything anyone here can help me with or not at this point, but it's all about, in the end, they're all about what Naheed is speaking of. And I've been led to groups to listen and see where I can be of service. While I'm working on what I'm doing, in many ways, I've done so much work, I almost feel like I've been on hold. I'm not the only one. I've gathered people, projects, and new people do keep coming, and I do meet amazing people at some of these groups. But it's been difficult for me because in these groups, it's difficult to know where you weave, where you fit, where you can be of service when I don't really get the opportunity unless I can go to people individually, which I have with a few, if I don't really know that much about any of you. How much do you know about me? Most of you know pretty much nothing. What I've been doing 15 years and why I'm even here in Costa Rica. I don't know very much about most of you. How can I know where I fit? How I can be of service to you personally I don't know anything about you. I listen carefully, and I've called a couple of the people, and I've worked with one of the people for a period of time, on and off. But for the most part, I don't really know much about any of you. I think it wouldn't hurt if we had some way for us to get to really know each other. Some of you have been together for quite some time and you know each other, and it's, no? Because I had that impression that many of you have been together in group for a while. Wow, okay.
We have been in the group, but we don't know each other really.
Really? Oh my gosh. Because I'm newer to the group, but I thought many of you had been together for some time. And just on these calls, but nothing outside of these calls. I thought you had been working together already. Well, maybe this is the piece, I'll just throw this out, maybe this is the piece that is needed. If we can have a way to actually get to know each other's hearts better, know where we're coming from, know where others can be of service to each other. You know, it's all about personal connections. To be with the heart, we can connect to the source and open our hearts up and resonate with each other for an hour or two a week. But I'm not sure we can move things enough forward unless we really get to know more than that, the essence of each of us. If that's the word that just showed up, I don't know. So maybe that means something. So that's, I guess, my 2 cents worth, so to speak. What's coming to me is how do I do this if I don't really know much about any of you, except what I experience on these calls. So anyway, that's what's coming to me. I mean, that's why I thought when you talked about everybody sharing more about, well, it was projects, maybe we need to share about ourselves every week for that time that you talked about sharing what our projects were, instead. That's just a thought. So we can actually know each other. So
I'm going to kind of draw on this for a
yeah.
second. So stay with me for a minute, because so this is a perfect example. So Karen, this is your piece. This is your gift. Because this particular focus, because I've heard you say this, and this is, hopefully this is coming off very compassionate. I've heard you say this for 6 months, 7 months. And what I'm hearing is that maybe this is your piece. You start it. Instead of waiting for everyone else, this is your gift, because this is your heart's calling to get to know people. This isn't my thing, or maybe Oriana's thing, or Grace's thing. When Henry wanted to, his really passion was to help people articulate resonance. And it hasn't completed. He started an articulation group because that was his thing. And it began, and right now it's not continuing because other things have come in and he can speak more directly to that himself. But he started that group and he gained something. And actually we gained some interviews out of that haven't been used yet because there's some other pieces that need to develop. We are developing good of the whole as an organism, as an organization, right? So what I'm hearing, it's like almost an opportunity for a slight shift. How can Karen, Frank, take this longing, it's almost like a loss because you feel like there's something that you're not getting from people, to create some kind of an opportunity for people to come in. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, I don't know. Where, think about what you would call it. And you gather, I'll support you. I'll help you work the Zoom. I'll do whatever, and I'm sure everybody else will help you as well. But this is your opportunity to make that happen instead of waiting for it or not having it. And what would be your expression? Because I think you're right. I think people need this. If you're needing this, other people need it. And so I would like to.
Well,
So-
Shelley, my point was, how do we weave things together if we don't know anything about, hardly anything about each other?
I understand that. But here's the thing, Karen. This is your piece. It does, this is what you're wanting. So come to me or come to Naheed or come to Wowza or whoever and say, hey, I want to create the space where people get to know each other better. Because I'm not feeling that need. My focus is somewhere else. It's just where I am. I'm being called, my energy is being called for something else. Not that I
understand. I understand. And maybe not everybody does feel the need to know more about people, to know how they weave together. So let me ask, does anyone else feel that way, or do you feel it's not needed? Anyone else feel it would be helpful to know more about each other, to be able to know how we weave our things together for the good of the whole?
I would like to come in, if I can, after you are done. There is something that you are bringing out of me, which is like the sadness has disappeared. There is.
Hold on one second. Wowza, you need to mute yourself because if two people are talking, it's getting. Okay, so one person just and say you're complete when you're done, so the next person can share. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What is present now? It is interesting. When I saw the screen that each one of you, I said, these people, we all have done tremendous work for years. And everybody's up to something that is important and significant for them, which it is their heart expression. And what brought us together was the heart resonance in the first place. I just heard that somebody you met, who was started one teacher, who said, okay, just look at your heart, and that person didn't have a relationship with the whole picture. So what I heard is like, oh, the heart is not the whole picture. So if we have not got to that place that the heart is the creator and it has all the design and blueprint and all the template and everything that we want to create is already here, but we haven't accessed it. We still are talking about it. I have written 3 books, never published. Anytime I go there, it's like the old paradigm. See me, so this is my excuse that I can come to the society and talk. That is still the paradigm that we are living, based on whatever success looks like in the eyes of the world. So when I totally hear you, Shelley, for your clarity, Kate, but you ask, Ken, Shelley and I, we have been together for 8 years with Barbara. There is deep love, but we really don't know each other. There's a deep, deep love, but we don't know each other. And what you are saying about is like, how can we are pieces of the whole, and we keep talking about good of the whole. And if I don't know your true essence, we don't, blah, 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 we keep talking. Thank you for being such a good mirror that I can say what is in my heart. I don't know your essence. There is nothing for me that wants to manifest. I am already that. I want to hold you in my arm and kiss you from toe to hair, knowing you are safe and perfect. And from that place, from the Creator will rise. I have nothing to do. I am here to celebrate you and celebrate me, because in this connection, in this resonance, the frequency, that whatever that has brought us together, I get to, in celebration of you, I get to celebrate me. I get to celebrate life. So I don't have an agenda. I don't want to be successful in the world. I've done all of that. I am that. I want to meet you in your heart. I want to hold you. I want us to be together in that vulnerable state of innocence that we talk about. And we wonder, and from that place, because we already have come together, obviously we have those pieces that needs to be waved. From that place, magic is possible. I live for that. And you say, Shell, go somewhere and ask for help. I have prayed for over 20 years. I have prayed that He use me. Where would I be the most of service? And it has brought you to me. Now where would I go to ask? I may do that. I may do that. As I left other groups, I may choose to create something that is because of this focus that I have with you. It hasn't shown up. But even if I don't do that, I'm adoring you, praising you, and deeply desire to connect in an intimate way that we have no clue of.
Oh, I'm just bursting. I just a tip. I mean, just a possibility. In the Holy Eight group that I have through Barbara, every group, it's amazing what can be said and shared in 10 minutes. Where one person in each group, each time, could come forth, and from their heart, the most significant expression of their heart can be brought through. And, a major something that shifted them into their heart has brought this group, I feel, an amazing intimacy and caring. And this is just a suggestion, that just one person at each time, a short period of time, could share something truly significant from their heart.
I did share that with Henry last time, Shelley. I proposed to, and I asked him to bring it to your attention, because I hardly can see you. You are a very, very busy lady. Yes, my love. So that we really, that waving, this waving, base of the dowsing has been your word, your expertise. You've been saying this waving thing. And we are the waves, aren't we? So let's meet at the wave level. And from that place, manifest something. Still, Shell wants to do its own thing. I want to do my own thing. Grace wants to do its own thing.
Okay, hold on. Let's take a breath here, please. I get, this is like, I opened it up with a passion, the soul fire. We're in the soul fire.
We invited the whole thing.
Okay, yes, okay. And I'm very aware of the timing. I'm also aware Oriana's here and hasn't had a place to share anything as well. So
always wants to be the last. Don't worry.
That's not okay. So let's not do that. So let's first of all take a breath, because what you're desiring is manifesting. be it. It is already happening. Let's just take a breath. And let's just feel this beauty of the heart coming forth in its most magnificent glory, making itself known, connecting and weaving. Karen, Nahid, start talking. Wowza, start talking. I know that I'm in the process of moving. I'm in the process of listening for how I can get this expression of the heart in its documented form so people can come and understand what they're even coming to and have a place to go to. And that's really what's happening within the greater whole of this organism. It's bigger than each one of us. It's all of it's when I look at that map behind Grace, it is the movement of that expression happening in every local village. And yet this particular expression is happening right here. So just be with it. And I'm going to open it up to Oriana, and I have to close this exactly at 10. And just know that this burning of the heart, please take advantage and talk to each other this week, so that when you come back next week, we can go, wow, here's the possibility. Here's what's getting created. Nahid, call me, like you can call on me. I can tell you, you can say, when's our next time together? I will put it together. I'm sitting in this rescheduling of my own life so that this greater version of ourselves as a collective can happen in a way that's really serving in the best way I can do. I'm listening. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Oriana to share, and we'll go from there.
Okay, and I'll be quick about it. Wow, what an interesting discussion this morning. I have a different perspective that I'd like to share, although I appreciate each of yours and share them also to a degree. But one of the things that I really appreciated about Good of the Whole and our calls together on our Mondays is that it wasn't a community call. I have a Heart's Deepest Desire group, as I know some of you do. And Karen, if you'd like to be part of a Deepest Desire group, they're starting new groups now, and I can put you in contact with the organizers to facilitate this deeper level of being with each other, heartfelt. But because this isn't a community group, I was particularly really drawn in when we came together in Nebraska that each of us had this deep heartfelt connection, knowing that we're each doing really incredible things out in the world in our own projects, etc. And that coming together in support of each other is a different level than, oh, here's what's happening with my mother-in-law, So I feel like this group is a different functioning than let's get to know each other and have coffee. And having said that, I also agree with Nahid that this deep level of connecting via the heart is what we come together to do by being the field, by holding that coherence, by feeling it, by having the practice of, oh, whoa, yeah, somebody just can hold me in this energetic knowing that we're moving towards something greater. We're putting in something that isn't here yet. We're forming from the formlessness, giving structure to that which isn't yet arrived. And I will just complete by saying that is just an update of where I am, is working on now a paper for Jude Caravan that I had said about the time crystals, and I now have a PhD scientist working with me to bring that together, to bring this into a form from this place of hypothesis that can begin to give structure. And I think that's where each of us are really working at a level of reaching in to that future, holding it, dreaming it into being, holding that possibility and coming together to share that. That's a different function than a personality getting to know each other. That's my perspective. So I will end. Thank you.
Okay, so let's just take a breath with that. And really with the full knowing that every one of this beautiful little quilt that we have here this morning is essential. And wherever you are is perfectly where you're meant to be, and it's not in comparison with anybody else, and all parts of the whole are needed. And at the same time, I want to, follow with, what Oriana was sharing, which is really this group has a particular functioning, and we want to stay with that and fulfill the pieces that are needing to be fulfilled. Exactly, Karen, what you were sharing, and Nahid, what you were sharing, and just invite this. Sorry, my computer's doing these weird things. I don't know. It's doing some weird sync up. Anyway, so with that, let's just hold everything that's been shared here. Inviting the six of us to communicate more directly this week, because obviously that's needed. And without blame or shame or anything, really following through on that. Even if you're not sure that maybe getting into that group is the right thing, check it out. This is part of what we're doing, is we're making that step to be a greater voice for the collective. And it's true, this coming together is really about our focus on the greater whole, and it is completely about the heart. We all know that. We know how this good of the whole evolved, was about, if we're going back to Barbara Marx Hubbard, it's from its essence, moving from essence in alignment with emergence. We're an emerging voice of the whole. So with that, I'm going to invite Grace. Would you like to close our connection? And please, I don't care if you think I'm so busy. If you don't make the attempt to call me or text me or say, hey, Shelley, I need you, you need to be present, make a schedule right now. Just do that with me, because there is a lot going on in my life. So with that, I pass it over to Grace.
Well, thank you, Shelley. And again, thank you everyone for opening their hearts and sharing their heart's desires. And I agree with Shelley, there's no judging. It's just, this is what's in the field. In the field, sometimes it does get rocky, but that's where we learn. That's where we connect even deeper. Bringing this up allows that deeper connection. So just closing your eyes and just feeling how your heart is expanded during this call, opening that personal heart up even more deeper to other people on all levels, personal, collective, and feeling the unconditional loving energy that weaves all of our hearts together. And at that deepest essence, we all are love. Just being love. And how we share the love out in the world, well, that's what we get to explore together and separately. So thank you all for being in this global heart together.
Thank you all. See you back here next week, and love you. Blessings.
Love you all.